Well, I have my Kindle with me, as a matter of fact, and I never leave home without it. It's great for traveling. I love it for travel and its portability and so forth. I'm one of those people who's not especially threatened by the digitalization of the delivery system of story, because that's what it seems to me to be. And in fact, I find it to be a revolutionary one and an interesting and challenging one, less so perhaps for me than for a younger writer like Jonathan at the end here, or someone whose mind embraced that mode of composition and communication much earlier in life than I did. I'm only approaching it now. But it seems to me to be one of those moments in the history of story where the delivery system gets radically altered. And of course, content will be altered as well, and as a result. But it's equivalent to going from wet clay and stylus to papyrus rolls, and from papyrus rolls to unborn lambskin vellum, and from that to the printing press. In each case, there's a greater democratization and less rigid quality control over the story.
Don't you find it so unromantic?
Only if I romanticize the act of composing with a fountain pen on a beautiful piece of paper, which I don't. That's not the mode of composition is not at all romantic to me, but some do. People who are not writers generally romanticize that, but no, I don't find it unromantic whatsoever. I find it thrilling, in fact.
No, I was going to...
Disculpen que hable en español, pedir a Liliana que me traduzca.
No.
Poco. Yo creo que el libro electrónico, si esa es su pregunta, es una realidad insoslayable, es una realidad absoluta. Y sobre todo es una realidad que nos va a permitir a los escritores sumar lectores, no restar.
It is terrible for me. It is difficult for me to speak, to translate this.
Yeah. Paolo. Posso parlare per bene.
Say it a bit slower. Repeat it just a bit slower.
Parla in italiano, capisco.
Sì, ma se parli spagnolo anche.
No, perché el libro electrónico es una realidad absoluta, viene ya, está ahí. Es incuestionable.
Okay.
Y que nos va a sumar lectores a los escritores.
Pasa.
Will bring books to all kinds of people who wouldn't have had them otherwise. And it is inevitable in many ways. But I don't have a Kindle, I don't have an iPad yet. My experience of reading anything on the computer is that you have these many multi-levels of things going on. So while you might be reading your Proust, you can also shop on Amazon and get the sneakers you wanted, and don't forget to check your email. And so, so the level of concentration, I think, throughout the culture is really, really changing. You see this a lot, I think, in younger generations, where there's this amazing thing that they're able to do, which is multitask, and they're texting and they're phoning and on the computer all at the same time, which is a sort of miraculous thing. But one has to ask, it begs the question, what kind of focus, what kind of reflection does that really allow? And so my question is really, I don't know what will happen, but will there still be readers for the kind of books that we all write? I don't know I don't know. In 10 years, yes, there will be. In 20 years, yes, probably. In 50 years, I don't know.
This week we still have readers.
Nicole, I was going to say something, but I just want to respond. I don't have a Kindle either, but I don't have a computer, and I've been teased all afternoon by Russell because I still write with a fountain pen and an old typewriter. But what I've seen Kindles, and they're not like computers. It's just a book.
No, but an iPad is, which is where most people will be.
Let me just say what I wanted to say, and then Jonathan can say. I'm for it. I think it's good in the end because it will increase readers. But the problem is how this is negotiated with copyright laws and publishers, because we don't want to see happen to publishing what happened to the record industry, which is that every musician now has become his own manager and his own publisher. And And I don't really think that artists should be managers and business people. And I don't want to see writers become their own publishers in that way. I think it will commercialize things in ways that are even worse than they are today. So that's what I'm scared about. But if somehow prices can be regulated properly, then I think it's a good idea.
Jonathan.
Many people talk about this as if we're changing the instrument, when in fact it's changing the environment in which you listen to the instrument. And so I think this is what Nicole was getting at. If you had a reader that was only an electronic reader and you only could read books on it, that would be a great thing, I think. Because I don't have a particularly romantic connection to books, paper books, but there's absolutely no way that's what it will be, because who would want a device that can only do that? Nobody would, especially as there's a proliferation of technological needs and devices to suit them. So it will be like the difference between hearing a concert in a room like this or hearing a concert in a shopping mall. So you could say, well, a shopping mall is better because you can fit more people in, and you'll get all different kinds of people, and you're going to get people wandering through as opposed to people who just came to hear it. On the other hand, it will never sound as good because people are going to be distracted, and there's people walking in the background, and there's stores that you could go into, and I think the scary thing is the end of a kind of exclusive reading experience, a reading experience that is only reading. Because when you read a book now, you don't really have an option but to read the book. Maybe the phone rings in the background and you can choose to answer it or not. But the space of the experience is not being invaded, and it will be. And I think that books, literature can compete with the phone, and it can compete with emails, and it can compete with movies, and it can compete with TV. And I think it can even beat all of those things, but it can't compete with them if they're all happening in the same space, because they require different minds. And a kind of short-term mind dominates a patient mind. It just does. And so we have to find ways of segregating the experience. And the problem is that all of these devices, if they don't now, in the future, they're going to bring all the experiences to the same place.
Daniel.